Hello everybody, I am that one guy, and today I'm doing a video on Saryn's augments and whether or not they're worth using. Now, something to keep in mind, I am only going to be going over Saryn's augments for her second and third ability, which are Regenerative Molt and Contagion Cloud. I will not be bringing up Venom Dose at all in this video, because Venom Dose would require me to have someone else to use it on, because it's one of those augments like Freeze Force or Shock Trooper. I have to cast it on an ally, and I don't really feel like bringing someone in, so, you know, we're just going to be going over those two, the second and third augments. Now, as far as what they do, Regenerative Molt is, after casting Molt, Saryn regenerates 50 health every second for 10 seconds. The amount of health regenerated actually does scale up with power strength, so there is that to keep in mind. And also, Contagion Cloud, which is a Toxic Lash augment. Melee kills create a 2-meter Toxic Cloud dealing 150 toxic damage per second for 12 seconds. And that does increase with power strength and duration. So, I'll just show you the Regenerative Molt first. And you saw the build I was using. That build there is actually purely for survivability. It's got extremely high armor, it's got very high health, and it's got Regenerative Molt, so it does its job very well. I'm sorry if I'm being quiet, but I need to keep an eye on things and make sure I don't lose too much health. And you just cast Molt and run away. That's how you use Regenerative Molt. However, I have noticed if enemies manage to destroy the Molt, it will actually cancel out the regenerating effect, so that might be a bug, it might be intended, I'm not really sure. However, let's just go ahead and get to the next augment, which is Contagion Cloud. And this is the build I threw together for Contagion Cloud. Just so you all can get a good look at it, Narrow-Minded will actually not reduce its range at all, so you know, just keep that in mind if you're going to use it. You can use Narrow-Minded with this build to give it a lot of extra duration, which I did. Though, honestly, the issue is, Toxic Lash already gives you toxin damage with a 100% chance to apply toxin procs. So, I can't really say that I think this augment is very useful, if I'm honest. It's just, what's the word I'm looking for? It's redundant, that's the word I'm looking for. And the reason I say it's redundant is because these clouds cannot proc toxin. So, the main reason I would have to use these is pretty much gone. It might be excused if they did more damage, or if they covered a larger area, or if they just procced toxin. That would be my recommendation. But since they don't do that, this augment is kind of negligible, and honestly, I wouldn't recommend using it. I'd say it could have its uses, but honestly, you might as well just use Toxic Lash. You might as well just use a high strength, high duration build and use Toxic Lash with a condition overload weapon like Kindness here, which is 6 damage types, 100% status, and this is the build I'm currently using. I'll just move that out of the way so you can see the build. And this is very similar to the build I did a while back, the Interesting Melee build, except it lacks Weeping Wounds and it uses a lot more dual stats. And that's because it's 100% status on its own. And since Toxic Lash has 100% status on hit, essentially that's 7 damage types, so you can actually do even more damage if you're using a condition overload melee weapon. And since it's Saryn, it's, you know, status effects get extended out a bit more. So, you know, I'd say this ability could be useful, but the augment needs a lot of work. Actually, no, never mind. The augment just needs a bit of tweaking, I think. Like, either just bigger clouds, or allow it to proc toxin, or something like that, and then I'd say it would be extremely useful. However, I can't really say I'd recommend it. Regenerative Molt, on the other hand, I would definitely say if you're using Saryn, you should get Regenerative Molt. You don't need the build I had, which is purely a survivability build, and honestly, I don't use this build. This is a testing build. This is my normal build. And this is for spores, obviously. So, Regenerative Molt, honestly, it's not there to keep you alive. It's more there to just heal up after the fight. And especially since Molt can help you with, it can remove status procs for you. So, yeah, no, like, if you're using Saryn, you need Regenerative Molt, but you don't really need Contagion Cloud, because the augment itself is kind of pointless, if I'm honest. So, that's kind of my thoughts on the matter. I haven't really covered Venom Dose, and I don't really intend to. I'm not going to cover Freeze Force, Shock Trooper, or whatever Ember's augment for her one is called. You know. Oh, and, by the way, I will be covering Frost next. Frost and all his augments. So, and I'd like to know which frame you all would like me to cover after Frost. So, if you have an idea what frame I should do next, please leave it in the comments below. And as always, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment, whatever. I don't really mind all that much. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video.